A single dad and CEO accidentally sends his daughter to a music camp and meets a woman who touches his heart. Stephen Walker double-checks the address as he drives his shiny black SUV onto the sidewalk. He glances at the building with a puzzled look, expecting a modern tech learning center instead. A quaint brick shop welcomes him, its windows painted with colorful musical notes and instruments. Above the door, a handmade sign reads, "Creative Piano and Expression Skills for Kids. This can't be right." From the passenger seat, his 10-year-old daughter Lily sticks her head out, eyes wide. "This looks so fun. Dad, is this really where I'm supposed to take the advanced coding class?" "No," Stephen mutters, pulling out his phone. "No, this has to be a mistake." He quickly scrolls through the confirmation email. He'd signed her up for a weekend enrichment course, something to boost her resume, develop critical thinking, prep her for a world driven by logic and results. Advanced skills for gifted kids. It said not this. They step inside, and soft piano notes drift from down the hall. Posters of Beethoven and Bach hang on the walls, the air scented with old wood and lavender. At the front desk stands a woman in her 30s, chestnut hair in loose braids, dressed simply but radiating warmth and confidence. She looks up and smiles as they approach. "You must be Lily," she says cheerfully. "We're so excited to have you in the class. I think there's been a mistake." Stephen interrupts. "I signed her up for an academic enrichment course, not a music class." The woman's smile doesn't falter, but her eyebrows knit together in curiosity. "I'm Olivia Harper, the program director. Let me double check." She taps quickly on the tablet behind the desk, then turns it toward him. "According to her registration information, she has signed up for our creative and expressive piano class. Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon." Stephen stared. "This is not what I signed up for," Olivia gently explained. "It's a common mistake. We have a similar code for another course in the same district. Sometimes that happens." "Okay, that's unacceptable." Stephen snapped. "I took my time on this. She was supposed to be taking a skill development class, not playing music on the keyboard." Lily tugged at his jacket. "But Dad, can I try just today? Looks like fun." Stephen turned to his daughter. He tilted her head up to look into the music room across the hall, where kids her age were laughing, tapping colorful piano keys, or showing off stickers on their music books. He sighed, clearly frustrated. "You have to prepare her for real challenges, not just let her try," she said again, this time more gently. Olivia leaned forward. "I understand your concerns, Mr. Walker, but we take our curriculum very seriously. This class isn't just about making noise. It teaches memory, discipline, creativity, and confidence. And sometimes kids discover parts of themselves we didn't even know were waiting." Stephen exhaled slowly. His mind was already on the next board meeting, his inbox, and the report he hadn't finished yet. "All right," he said, glancing at his watch. "Home lessons then. That's it." Lily beamed. "But don't give her false hope," he added, looking at Olivia sharply. "Please don't fill her head with fairy tales. She doesn't need any more distractions." Olivia nodded gently. "Of course. Let's see how she feels after today." Stephen turned and left. He pulled out his phone before walking through the door. Inside the classroom, Lily was welcomed by the other kids. Olivia knelt beside her, pointing out the piano keys, helping her sit at the small, upright piano. Lily looked hesitant for a moment, then smiled and tapped a few notes. An hour passed. When Stephen returned, laughter and piano music greeted him. He walked in just in time to hear the group playing a simple melody. And in the front row was Lily, carefully moving her hands over the keys, her tongue slightly sticking out at the corner of her mouth in concentration. When she finished, she turned and saw him. Her face lit up. "Dad, did you hear that?" He stepped closer, not knowing what to say. "I did. Miss Olivia helped me play with both hands." "I didn't think I could do that," Olivia added, holding up a paperclip with their names on it and saying she did very well. "She's a good listener." "That's rare." Lily looked back at him, her eyes wide with hope. "Can I come back next week to take a few more lessons?" Stephen hesitated. This wasn't what he had planned. But when he looked down at her, eyes shining, cheeks flushed, a spark of something he hadn't seen in a long time, He exhaled. "All right," he said. "A few more sessions." Lily hugged him tightly. Olivia smiled as they walked away. "Thank you for giving her a chance." Stephen stopped at the door and looked back. "I'm challenging her," he said, "not imagining things. Sometimes," Olivia said softly. "Delusions are just truths we haven't accepted yet." He said nothing, only nodded once, then followed his daughter out into the sunny street, unaware that the music Lily had just discovered would soon echo through his life in ways he never imagined. Tuesday afternoons became a new routine. During the first few sessions, Stephen sat in the car with his laptop on his lap, eyes constantly scanning spreadsheets and meeting minutes. He told himself it was only temporary. He'd let Lily take a few lessons, watch her enthusiasm fade, then steer her back to more practical things. But by the third week, something had changed. He started lingering at the door. It began as idle curiosity. After all, he had time to kill. Through the small window into the studio, he could see the kids sitting at the little upright pianos, their fingers moving hesitantly, faces a mix of confusion and wonder. Then there was Lily. She sat straighter than the others. Her fingers seemed more tentative, but her eyes shone with something he couldn't name. Olivia moved around the room like a quiet stream, gentle and guiding, never overwhelming. She stopped beside Lily, often nodding encouragement, lightly tapping the piano to help her keep the rhythm. One afternoon, with sunlight streaming through the window, lighting up dust motes like stars, Olivia appeared beside Stephen in the hallway. He hadn't noticed she had left the classroom. She smiled and said, "You can come in." "She'd like that." Stephen hesitated. "I don't want to disturb." "You're not disturbing. You're one of her audience." He looked past her, watching Lily bent over, shoulders moving slightly as she played. "I don't know anything about music," he said softly. "You don't have to. Just listen." So he followed Olivia in, sitting in the back on a low bench, feeling strangely out of place in his tailored jacket and neatly pressed shirt among the bright posters and lively kids. But then Lily looked back and saw him, her face lighting up like she was about to cry. That moment stayed with him. In the weeks that followed, he started noticing more than just Lily. He observed how Olivia taught. Never harsh, always patient. She knew exactly when to speak and when to let the child struggle a bit. She treated each student as if they were capable of more than they believed, and somehow they rose to meet her. One day, she sat beside Stephen after class while Lily packed up her books. "She's got an ear," Olivia said. "A rare ear. She feels the music before she even understands it." Stephen looked down at his own hands. "Her mother is playing the piano. She's a pianist, mostly classical music. I think Lily heard her practicing in the morning before heading to school." Olivia's voice softened. "The girl must be proud wherever she goes." Stephen nodded, not quite believing his own words. The breakthrough came after 2 weeks. It was just a small recital. Each kid played a piece they had practiced over the past month. Parents lined up in the room, whispering quietly, phones in hand. Lily sat at the piano, her feet barely reaching the pedals. Olivia introduced her simply, "This is Lily Walker. She's going to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star with a little twist of her own." There was a chuckle, then silence. Lily placed her fingers on the keys. You could hear your heartbeat. And then she played. For a moment, the room was so quiet Stephen could hear his own heart beating. And then she played. Simple, but there was something in the way she pressed the keys. The pauses, the hesitations, the crescendo near the end. It held something beyond the melody. It held emotion. As the last note faded, the room erupted in applause. Lily turned around, searching for him. When she saw Stephen, she smiled brightly. He stood there, his hands frozen mid-applause, chest tightening. He wasn't thinking about stock prices or board meetings. He was thinking about Rachel, his late wife, how she used to play in the evenings, how Lily would curl up next to her on the bench, watching her mother's fingers move like water over the keys. He blinked, and for a moment, it was as if Rachel was there again, through Lily's hands. After the recital, Olivia came over. She was amazing. She whispered. Stephen nodded slowly. "She reminds me of her mother. Tonight." "I think so too," Olivia said, without asking more. just standing with him as the room slowly emptied. Outside, the evening breeze was cool. Lily walked along the sidewalk, humming the tune she'd just played. Stephen watched her, a soft, sad smile on his lips. And he thought maybe music wasn't a distraction after all. Maybe it was a way back. It all started with a simple thank you. After Lily's second performance, Stephen lingered longer than usual. Olivia was closing the music room, gently stacking the sheet music and turning off the lights. He lingered near the door, hands in his pockets, until she looked up and smiled. "You don't have to wait every time," she said, brushing a stray lock of hair from her cheek. "She's safe with me." "You know." "I know," Stephen replied, "but it gives me an excuse to slow down." Olivia giggled softly. Maybe it was the first time I'd ever heard a CEO say something like that. Stephen smiled softly. Maybe this was the first time I felt that way. That evening, they talked outside under the amber glow of the studio lights. Lily sat in the back seat, quietly humming to herself and flipping through a music book. Olivia leaned against the railing. Stephen stood beside her, both gazing out at the city around them. Olivia softly said, "I grew up just a few blocks away. We didn't have much. My mom worked extra cleaning shifts. She loved music, but never had time to really pursue it." Stephen listened quietly. "When I was 8, she passed away. Pneumonia came on fast. I ended up moving from house to house, from school to relatives' places, but there was a small piano in my aunt's garage. I taught myself on it. It was out of tune. Some keys stuck, but I played it like it was a Steinway." He glanced at her. "And now you teach." She nodded. "Now I teach." There was a pause. Not awkward, just full. "You," she asked. "You said Lily's mother was a piano artist." "That's right," Stephen replied. "Rachel. She was very smart, but also very fragile. After Lily was born, she struggled with postpartum depression. She got better for a while, then had a car accident. I'm sorry. I don't think Lily really remembers her anymore, but every time she touches the keys, I see Rachel in her." Olivia's voice was gentle. "That must be hard." "It is. And as her father, sometimes I feel like I'm failing in every way. I know how to lead a team, pitch to investors, negotiate contracts, but I don't know how to talk to a 10-year-old about feelings, fears, or loss." "Maybe you don't need to talk," Olivia said. "Maybe you just need to listen. That's what music has taught me. You don't always have to say the right thing. It's also about being there to listen to the silence." Stephen looked at her, really looked, and there was something in her eyes that took his breath away. The following weeks, their conversations grew deeper, sometimes after school, sometimes over a quick coffee when Stephen happened to get off early. Olivia told him about her dream to open a community music center for low-income families. Stephen shared stories about chaos in the boardroom and trying to balance picking up his daughter from school with global strategy calls. They became something like friends. A strange honesty blossomed between them, free from roles or expectations. Meanwhile, Lily's talent blossomed. She practiced every evening without anyone having to ask. Her fingers moved with more confidence. Her eyes lit up when she played. Olivia noticed that too. So, one Friday afternoon, she came to Stephen with a flyer. She said it was a small community event at the Ridgeview bookstore. They held monthly open mic nights for young artists. It seemed simple, but she thought Lily was ready. She could use a small stage just for fun. Stephen hesitated. She hadn't played that long. "I know, but it's not about perfection." He agreed it was about sharing joy. On the night of the event, the bookstore buzzed with excitement. Kids in oversized shoes sat next to nervous parents. A small, upright piano was placed near the poetry corner, its wooden surface gleaming under warm string lights. Lily wore a simple navy blue dress with a yellow ribbon pinned in her hair. Olivia sat backstage whispering encouragement, while Stephen stood nearby, arms crossed tightly, hiding the storm inside. When her name was called, Lily stepped up to the piano. She glanced at Olivia, then at her father. Perfect. A wrong note here. A pause. Stephen nodded softly to her. She was playing. It wasn't perfect. A wrong note here. A pause there. But it was hers. Gentle, expressive, full of wonder. When she finished, the room filled with soft applause. And Lily smiled. She looked back at the crowd, her face glowing with pride. That laughter broke something inside Stephen. He hadn't heard that in a long time. She hadn't laughed so freely and fully in a long time. As people gathered after the show, Olivia saw him standing alone, his hand still trembling slightly. "You okay?" she asked softly. Stephen nodded. "That was the most beautiful thing I've seen in a long time." "She was amazing," Olivia replied. "Yeah," Stephen agreed. "And so were you." She looked at him surprised. "I mean it," he said. "You're helping her become someone I didn't know she could be." A pause. "And maybe you're helping me too." Olivia smiled, her cheeks slightly flushed. Outside, the night air was cool. Stephen watched Lily skip towards the car, still buzzing from her performance. For the first time, he wondered what music and Olivia might bring into their lives. This decision came to Stephen, suddenly, quietly, and instinctively. After Lily's performance at the bookstore, he couldn't stop thinking about how alive she looked on that little stage. Something had changed, not just in her, but in him too. So one morning, while reviewing the quarterly forecast at the office, he paused, opened a new tab, and searched for a professional digital keyboard. By the afternoon, Melody Makers had received an unexpected order: 3 brand new keyboards, a full pedal set, and a donation letter signed by Stephen Walker. Olivia almost dropped her coffee when she saw them. What did he do? She asked the delivery guy, holding the packing slip with trembling fingers. "There's a note," he said, pointing to an envelope taped to one of the boxes. She slowly opened it, written neatly by hand. The note said, "For the kids who dream with their fingers, keep making music." That night, Olivia called him. "You didn't have to do that," she said, still sounding a bit incredulous. "The studio deserves better tools." "I wanted to," Stephen replied. "The studio deserves better tools, and so do you." The line went silent for a moment. "Thank you," she said softly. "That means more than you know." From that moment on, their connection started to go beyond the music room. On Thursday afternoons, they often grabbed coffee at a small cafe after Lily's class. Their conversations, once casual, grew deeper. They talked about childhood. She spent weekends reading alone at the library on rainy days. He lived in structured silence under the weight of family expectations. Olivia gave heartfelt talks about the importance of creative education, about how music could change the emotional path of children's lives. It was powerful. One day, she brought him a book. Stephen listened more than he spoke, but something in his eyes told her her words mattered. One day, she brought him a book. She said it was called Father and Daughter, sliding the thin book across the table as she spoke. "It's not very long, just stories, essays, little moments." He looked at the cover skeptically. She added that you don't have to read it all, but maybe you'll find something in there. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Stephen sat in the living room with an untouched glass of whiskey beside him and read the first page. Then the second. When he looked up again, the sky had turned purple, and tears were gathering in his eyes. The stories were simple but deeply moving. Absent fathers at recitals, daughters who never asked for much, just time, a silent longing between two souls trying to meet in the middle. The next time they met, Stephen quietly said, "I read the whole thing." Olivia smiled. "And I think I underestimated the role of being a dad." "You're doing better than you think," she replied. Stephen looked away, his voice gentle. "Lily asked me about you." "Oh," Olivia said, surprised. "She wanted to know if you like chocolate ice cream and why you laugh so much when she plays." Olivia smiled. "Oh, both answers are yes." Stephen chuckled. "She also asked if you'd come to help her practice a silent beat." "I'd love to," Olivia said. And she came. It was a rainy Saturday when Olivia arrived at their apartment. Lily pulled out all her sheet music, prepared snacks, and even taped a paper sign on the door that read, "Welcome, Olivia." They played for nearly an hour. Olivia sat next to Lily, their hands touching as they adjusted their fingers. They laughed at mistakes, celebrated small victories, and even played duets together. Stephen watched from the doorway, arms crossed, his heart tightening. Then Lily went to make hot cocoa, insisting she could handle it like a big girl. Olivia walked to the living room, where the family's upright piano sat quietly and solemnly like an old friend. She sat down, her fingers gliding over the keys. "Do you play often?" Stephen asked, sitting down beside her. "Not as much as I'd like. Play something." She hesitated, then began a gentle, flowing melody that sounded like falling leaves and forgotten lullabies. Stephen closed his eyes for a moment, letting the music surround him. When she finished, the last note hung in the air. Silence followed. They looked back at each other. Their eyes met. It wasn't a moment that needed words. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet. Deep a pause hanging in the space between them. No one leaned forward. No one moved away. But in that look was something unspoken recognition, connection, longing just beginning to blossom. Then Lily's voice rang out from the kitchen, breaking the silence. "Olivia, I put way too much cocoa powder. Help." Olivia smiled, stepping in front of me. She disappeared down the hallway, laughter echoing behind her. Stephen stayed seated at the piano bench, fingers still resting where she had just placed them. He stared at the keys, the faint echo of her melody whispering through the room. He was a man used to clear-cut decisions, sharp strategies, and controlled outcomes. But this was something else. And for the first time in a long while, he didn't want to run away from it. The carefully built balance Stephen had maintained began to crumble. It started with a failed product launch. The new software caused a wave. A glitch in the new software sparked a flood of user complaints. Then came the next internal review, tense meetings in the boardroom, and angry calls from investors. Everyone wanted someone to blame. And as CEO, Stephen was the easiest target. Deadlines tightened, expectations piled up. Pressure like a clamp closing in made it hard to breathe. He missed one of Lily's lessons on Tuesday, then another, and another. At first, he sent messages, "Stuck in a meeting. We'll be late. Tell Lily I'll make it up to her." But eventually, the messages stopped. At first, Olivia noticed the spark in Lily's playing the way her fingertips danced over the keys starting to fade. She grew quieter during lessons, sometimes glancing over her shoulder as if still hoping her dad would walk through the door, smiling with that quiet pride he always showed. One afternoon, Olivia bent down next to her after she clumsily sang a new song. "Everything okay?" she gently asked. Lily shrugged. "Dad's busy. Too busy to listen to your music." Lily's eyes flashed. "He said he'd come next week." But next week came and Stephen didn't. By the third week, Olivia's worry turned to disappointment. She sent him a message not about schedules or logistics, but from the heart. "Lily's playing really badly. I think she needs you more than you realize." No reply, not even a read receipt. Then that Thursday, rain started as class ended. Olivia, noticing Lily hadn't brought an umbrella like usual, offered to drive her home. Lily nodded gratefully, her small frame wrapped in a raincoat, violin case tucked under one arm. The building was dim and quiet as they arrived. Olivia parked by the curb and walked Lily to the front door. Just as she was about to ring the bell, the door opened from inside. Stephen stood there, loosened tie, messy hair, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was sharp, cold, and high-pitched. "I don't care what the forecasts say. Pull funding now, or I'm out," he barked. "You think I'll fall again? Not this time." He turned and widened his eyes when he saw Olivia and Lily standing in the rain. "Lily, go change your clothes," he said quickly, trying to soften his tone. "You'll catch a cold." She nodded and slipped past him, her shoes clicking on the floor. Stephen stepped outside, gently closing the door behind him. He exhaled and opened his mouth to speak, but Olivia was quicker. "I've been trying to reach you," she said, her voice soft but urgent. "I know," Stephen replied, pinching the bridge of his nose. "You're busy," she finished for him. "I get it. You're the CEO. The world doesn't wait on your schedule." He clenched his jaw. "It's not just business. There's a lot going on right now. And while all this was happening, your daughter was shrinking," Olivia said sharply. "She used to smile while playing the piano. Now she barely touches the keys anymore. Did you know that she told me she was fine?" He said defensively. "She's only 10. Stephen. She says she's okay because she doesn't want to be another thing for you to fix." He looked away, raindrops hanging from his lashes. "I'm doing the best I can." "She doesn't need the best." Olivia said, her voice trembling. She needs you, even when it's messy, even when you're tired, even when you're late. She just wants her dad in the room. Stephen's voice rose a little. You think I don't know that? To keep me from lying awake wondering if I'm letting her down. I think you're so busy scared of failing. You don't even bother to show up. Those words hit him like a slap in the face. They stood in the rain. Two people on opposite sides of a storm. Thunder rumbling somewhere beyond the horizon. I'm not her mother, Olivia said softly, but I care. I care enough to say this, even if it means you hate me for it. He spoke, his tone still gentle as before. I don't hate you. Then do better. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back and opened the door. Rainwater ran to Olivia's feet as he disappeared inside. The door closed behind him. She stood there for a long moment, heart pounding, breath ragged. Then she turned and slowly walked back to the car, the piano melodies of the past weeks still echoing in her ears, each note a little fainter than before. A week passed. No calls, no messages, no visits. Lily sat at the piano every afternoon, staring at the keys. Her hands, once eager, now quietly rested on her lap. The music room, once lively, was now empty. Stephen noticed it immediately. Every morning, he opened her door hoping to hear a tune, but all he heard was silence, the soft creak of the long chair, the gentle closing of a lid. She never asked about Olivia, but he saw it in her eyes, the waiting, the surprise. He tried making breakfast, helped with homework, even offered to play piano, though he barely knew a note. A folded sheet of music stuck between the couch cushions. But nothing excited her like Olivia's presence. Then one afternoon, while tidying up, he found a folded sheet of music stuck between the couch cushions. It was smudged by a small chocolate stain. At the top was a clear, handwritten note for Lily, reminding us how to feel. Stephen stared at the message. That night, after Lily had fallen asleep, he sat at the kitchen table with that sheet music and a blank page. No emails, no dialogue, just a pen, paper, and the words he had never said. The next morning, he gently told Lily, "Let's go to the center. You don't have to play if you don't want to." She nodded quietly. When they arrived, melody makers felt different. Olivia's usual seat behind the front desk was empty. The receptionist gave a polite smile. "Ms. Harper is off for a few days," she said. Stephen's heart sank, but he kept it hidden. Lily's substitute teacher guided her to the piano. She sat down, her fingers barely touching the keys. After class, Stephen went back to the front desk. He placed a sealed envelope and Lily's first sheet music, carefully preserved with Olivia's sparkling notes, on the counter. "Please make sure Ms. Harper gets this." "I will," the receptionist said kindly. That evening, Olivia sat wrapped in a blanket on the small balcony, a forgotten cup of tea beside her. The city buzzed below. When the doorbell rang, she opened it and found a small bag with her name on it. Inside was Lily's sheet music and a letter. Stephen's handwriting was steady, but the words trembled. "Olivia, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't even know if I'm worthy of you reading it. The past few weeks have been chaotic, and I let it control me. I became the person I promised I never would be. Distracted, disconnected, drowning in pressure. You once told me music isn't about perfection. It's about being present. I forgot that. I wasn't just teaching Lily how to play music. I was giving her joy, laughter, and light. I was also given something. At first, I thought you were just a detour, a mistake in my tightly controlled world. But then I saw Lily smile. I saw how you filled the silences in her life and mine. I didn't realize how much I needed that light until it was gone. I'm sorry for letting the noise of life drown out your music. I'm sorry for being the dad Lily couldn't rely on. And I'm sorry for not saying this sooner. You taught Lily music, but you taught me how to love." Stephen. Olivia sat there for a long time, the letter trembling in her hands. Silent tears rolled down her cheeks, falling onto words that came too late, yet somehow, just in time. She looked down at the old sheet music and smiled, because somewhere between the scribbles and stains, between every messy note and quiet space, she heard something. Hope. Olivia stood at the entrance of Melody Makers, the familiar scent of wood polish and old sheet music surrounding her. Just as she reached for the door, it opened. Stephen stood there holding an old guitar case, his eyes full of something raw. "Olivia," he said softly, "I owe you and Lily an apology." "Stephen, you don't have to do this. Please," he said. "Let me say this." A few students nearby turned to watch as he stepped in and addressed the class. "I let fear and pressure come between me and the people I love most. I didn't want to be the discord in my daughter's melody, and I don't want to lose you. Olivia." The silence that followed was sacred. Olivia's chest tightened. She nodded slowly, a small smile forming. Apology accepted. A sigh of relief spread through the studio. That weekend, while watching Lily practice, Olivia nudged Stephen. "There's going to be a family recital soon. Parents can perform with their kids." He raised an eyebrow. "You mean me? I haven't played guitar in ages." "It's never too late." She smiled. "And Lily would love it." Lily's eyes lit up. "Really? Dad, can we?" Stephen smiled. "Only if Olivia sings with us." "Deal," she replied. In the following weeks, Stephen's house was filled with music. Olivia guided Lily through delicate passages while Stephen relearned chords, his fingers slowly remembering. Their practices became an evening ritual full of laughter, missed notes, takeout dinners, and growing closeness. One evening, as the sunlight bathed the room in gold, Olivia suggested, "How about Moon River? I like that." Stephen said, "Lily, I love that." As they practiced, the song came alive. Olivia's voice was gentle but full of feeling. Stephen's guitar was steady and warm. Lily's piano was clear and emotional. Together, their harmony was more than just music. It was a reflection of their journey, broken pieces stitched together with love. The night of the recital arrived. The community center buzzed with chatter and tuning sounds. Stephen felt nervous inside, but just looking at Olivia and Lily calmed him. As they stepped onto the stage, the room fell silent. Stephen adjusted the microphone. "This song means a lot to us. It's about finding your way, about connection, and the melodies that bring hearts together." They began. Olivia sang with gentle emotion. Stephen's guitar filled the room with warmth, and Lily's piano brought magic. When the last chord faded, the room held its breath, then erupted into applause. After the stage, Stephen turned to Olivia. "Thank you for bringing music back into Lily's life and mine." She squeezed his hand. "Music heals, and I think it brought us here for a reason." Lily jumped in. "Maybe we should write another song ourselves," Stephen smiled. "I think that's a great idea." As they stepped into the cool evening air, Stephen felt a peace he hadn't known in years. Challenges would come, but with Olivia and Lily by his side, the song of their lives would always find its harmony. A year passed, each day unfolding like a new movement in a symphony. Stephen and Olivia stood together at the front of a sunlit music hall, surrounded by family, friends, students, and colleagues who had become part of their journey. The hall wasn't fancy, but it was perfect. Lined with soft velvet seats, golden light streaming through stained glass windows, and a grand piano waiting in the center. Lily stood beside them, wearing a pale yellow dress, her hands resting on the piano keys. Her hair was softly curled, and her face glowed with quiet pride. The guests fell silent as she began to play a gentle melody, an original piece she had written just for today. As the final note faded, Lily turned to Olivia with bright eyes and spoke clearly into the microphone. "I've waited a long time to say this. I love you, Mom." A wave of emotion swept through the room. Olivia knelt down, arms wide open, and Lily ran into her embrace. Stephen joined in, wrapping both of them in his arms. That night, amid soft music and warm candlelight, Stephen raised his glass. "This isn't just a celebration of love," he said, steady and full. "It's a celebration of healing, hope, and second chances." Right after the wedding, Stephen and Olivia launched the Harmony Heart Scholarship, an initiative providing music education for underprivileged children. With support from the Walker Foundation and the local community, they started music programs at 3 schools within the first 6 months. The scholarship became a place where kids like Olivia once found their voice, and where kids like Lily could teach others how to feel. But music truly lived at home. On quiet Sunday afternoons, the living room came alive with laughter and song. Olivia would hum tunes while making tea. Stephen strummed gentle chords on his guitar, and Lily would run to the piano, declaring, "Today, let's try something new." Together, they played, sometimes clumsy, sometimes off-key, but always together. In those moments, it didn't matter if the notes were perfect or not. What matters most is the harmony between their hearts, a harmony not built on the music itself, but on love, forgiveness, and the courage to keep playing, even after a missed beat. As the sun set one evening, golden light flooded the piano, and Olivia looked over at Stephen and Lily. They were laughing and teasing each other about who had missed the tempo. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting their laughter and music fill her like air. This is their song now, and they'll play it for the rest of their lives. Through Stephen, Olivia, and little Lily's journey, we're reminded that healing often begins with the courage to show up imperfect, vulnerable, and present. What started as a scheduling mistake turned into a path of reconnection, where music became the language of love, second chances, and new beginnings. Stephen didn't just learn how to be a better father, he discovered the kind of family that doesn't just happen, but is chosen, built, and nurtured through every small, honest moment. If this story moved you, leave a message of support for Stephen the father who dared to grow, for Olivia the woman who heals with quiet strength, and for Lily the child whose music helped her family find harmony again. What do you think their next song should be about? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if stories like this speak to your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Touching Tales Hub. Here, we don't just tell stories, we share pieces of life that inspire, heal, and stay with you long after the last note fades. Because the next story might just be yours.